Hi there YouTube, John McCann here, and I'm bringing you our Google Pixel review. We've had this phone for a while now and we really quite like it, so let's dive in and find out just how good it is. So kicking off our Google Pixel review, we're going to take a quick look at the design of the handset. Now this is following in the footsteps of the Nexus 6P in terms of design. You've got a full metal body but with this interesting glass panel at the top of the rear of the phone, and that's going to divide some opinion. We're not overly amazed by it, but it's not a bad look, and it does house the fingerprint scanner and the 12.3 megapixel rear facing camera. It does feel nice and premium in your hand, as your palm will be touching this sort of bottom metal part of the phone. The phone actually has a slight wedge design. It's thicker at the top than it is the bottom, which actually makes it easier to hold in one hand and makes it feel thinner than it is at the top. Obviously, put it down on a surface and you're not really going to notice that wedge shape. It is quite subtle. On the bottom, you've got USB-C for charging and a single speaker as well as a microphone. That's not dual speakers as some people think. And also that rear-facing fingerprint scanner does fall nicely under finger. Use the fingerprint scanner on the back to swipe down, and you can bring down the notification bar. One swipe brings you down to the overview look, and then slide down again and you can get an exploded view of all your quick settings. Slide back up and you can get rid of it. It's a really nice little feature. It takes a little bit getting used to, but once you're used to swiping down with the fingerprint scanner, it is a lot easier than trying to stretch your thumb up to the top of the screen. It's actually not too hard on the Pixel because of its smaller dimensions, but for Pixel XL users that is something of a plus. Moving on screen, and you've got a 5-inch Full HD display on the Pixel, which gives you a pixel density of about 441 ppi. That means everything is nice and sharp, bright. The AMOLED technology behind it means colours do pop a bit out of the screen, so it's a pleasing visual experience. If you do want to slip this into a VR viewer though, the Full HD display isn't quite so good with two lenses splitting that resolution. You might want to look at the more expensive but bigger screened and higher resolution Pixel XL with its QHD display, but for what it's worth, the Pixel screen is still very good. And on this lovely display of the Pixel is Android 7.1 Nougat, the freshest, latest offering from Google. It's only on this phone and the Pixel XL for now, but it will be coming to all the other Android devices in the near future. But the good thing about getting a Pixel device is that you'll be first in line for future updates. That is another plus point. The interface here is really nice and slick. There's no app drawer button icon at the bottom dock anymore, but it hasn't gone away. A slide up from the bottom gets you into your apps. It's a nice little vertical scroller, and actually it feels a lot more intuitive once you get used to it. If anything, it feels a little quicker. We're not sure if it is actually quicker, but it does feel quicker, and that's nice to know. It's nice, it's fluid, it's fuss-free. There's no heavy overlay from another manufacturer, although HTC did actually build this, but it's all Google in terms of the input. Something else Google has added to Nougat is little quick links. If you hold down on an app icon, hold down on the Play Store for example, and it pops up My Apps, hold down on Maps and it says Work and Home, you tap one of these and it will jump you straight into navigation for those saved places. Really handy feature, very similar to Apple's 3D Touch. On the Pixel though, it's simply just a longer press on the icon. One of the big features of the Google Pixel though is the Google Assistant. Triggered by saying, "Okay Google." Google calls this your own personal Google. It will learn as the more you use it. It will know what you like, where you go, what you like to do, what you like to see. And it can also play games with you. It can read you poems. It can tell jokes. It can give you interesting facts. There's a whole wave of stuff. And some of them are more gimmicky, going, "Okay Google, tell me a joke." In terms of usability, it's hit and miss. Sometimes it can be really handy, other times it doesn't quite understand what you're saying or doesn't hear you, or just searches the web rather than servicing you with useful responses like this. It can hold a conversation with you. So it still knows that we're talking about the weather without us having to prompt it. So that is a nice feature, and it shows how the assistant is learning. It is useful to have every now and then if you just quickly want to basically Google something without having to unlock your phone. You can just have it sitting on the side, say, "Okay Google," and then say whatever you want and it will go. But overall, it's still a work in progress. It will work with Google Home when that becomes available. It can interact then via that with Chromecast, and it could also work with Android Auto in the future. And when all of those things are working together with your voice controlling everything, then that becomes a really powerful option. At the moment, the Assistant is only available available on the Pixel handset, so if you like the look of this, you will have to pick up one of these, but it should come to more Android phones in the future. In terms of performance, the Pixel is really quite fast. It has the latest Snapdragon 821 processor with 4GB of RAM, which is more power than pretty much anyone will need in their smartphone. Battery life, and that's possibly the weakest area of the Pixel. Google says you'll be good for at least a day, but unfortunately we didn't find that. A lot of the time we were having to top up come early to mid-evening. The good news is that the Pixel is fast charging enabled. Finally, we're going to take a look at the camera on the Google Pixel, which Google says is the highest rated camera ever, and that is via DxO benchmarking, which is an industry standard for testing cameras and lenses. And while that sounds great on paper, we found in the past that the DxO marks don't always translate into amazing day-to-day performance. The good news here though is that the Pixel camera is a very good one. The 12.3 megapixel offering on the rear of the camera is great in most scenarios. Daylight, indoors, dusk and dawn, it performs very well with HDR plus enhancing the darker areas and reducing blur, although in real low light at night time it does struggle every now and then. Images can look a little bit grainy and a little bit blurred. It's not quite as amazing as the Galaxy S7 was when we tried it out in similar scenarios, but it's still a very good snapper. It's up there with the likes of the HTCs, the iPhones, the LGs. You're not going to be too disappointed when snapping with this phone, which is great because the Google Pixel isn't cheap. It's actually right up there with the price tags of the iPhones, the Samsungs and all the other Android flagships, so you will be parting with a pretty penny, so it does need to perform well, and thankfully it does. So overall then, the Google Pixel has a premium design, if not one which may slightly divide people. The interface is really fuss-free, it's nice to use, it's slick, it's fast, there's a load of power under the hood allowing you to play games really nicely. The screen makes movies look great. The camera is a strong performer, and the only real blemish is that battery life, which isn't as good as we had hoped. The price tag is also quite high, but the good news is the Pixel does perform well against the other flagships on the market. So all in all, a very, very nice phone from Google. If you want to see the unboxings for both the Pixel and the Pixel XL, check out the links in the top right hand corner, and also our Pixel XL review will be up there too, so enjoy all of those videos. As for our Google Pixel review, well, what do you think? Let us know in the comments below. We really like the phone. It's got great performance, it's got a nice design, although it may divide a few of you out there. The battery life could be better, but the camera is very strong, and the new Android Nougat interface is really sleek, slick and clutter-free. It's a breath of fresh Google air in an overcomplicated Android world at the moment. The likes of the Samsung Galaxy S7 are fantastic, they're rammed full of power, it's got loads of features, but the Pixel brings stuff back to more of a bare bones. It's what you really need, it's good at the basics, it doesn't overcomplicate stuff, and for some people that's going to be a really enjoyable experience. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll be back soon for even more videos.